The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was full of noise. 2,000 species had sent their leaders to this meeting. They came from every corner of the galaxy. Some had scales, some had feathers. Some had no bodies at all and floated like clouds of light. But today, all of them were afraid. At the center of the hall, a large screen showed a map of the galaxy. Most of it was colored in blue and green, showing the territories of different species. But in one area, there was only red, deep, dark red. The words under it read, "Human space, do not enter." "They killed them all!" shouted a delegate from the Vorn system. He was tall and covered in gray fur. His 4 eyes were wide with anger. "Our research ship crossed the border by accident. 100 scientists. Gone." The council chamber exploded with voices. Everyone was talking at once. Some demanded war, some demanded answers. The old keeper of memory, a being so ancient that nobody remembered when he was born, sat quietly in his chair and watched. Then the doors opened. A single human walked in. His name was Yun Taiho, and he was the human ambassador to the Galactic Council. He was not tall. He was not strong-looking. He wore simple gray clothes and walked slowly to the center of the room. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Every eye in the room turned to look at him. Taiho did not seem to notice. He climbed the steps to the speaker's platform and stood there, calm as a lake on a windless day. "You called for me," he said. His voice was soft, but somehow filled the entire hall. "I am here." The Vorn delegate pushed forward. "Your people murdered our scientists. They crossed your border by mistake. Their navigation system failed. It was an accident." Taiho looked at him. Just looked. The Vorn delegate, who was twice his size, took a step back without knowing why. "They received 17 warnings," Taiho said. "The first came when they were 1 light year from our border. The warnings told them to turn around. They continued. The warnings told them they would die if they entered. They entered anyway. They had no choice. Their ship was damaged. Our border stations offered to send help. Your scientists refused. They said they did not need help from primitives." Taiho's voice did not change. He spoke like he was talking about the weather. The 17th warning was very clear. It said, "This is your final chance. Turn back or die." Your scientists laughed at that warning. "We have the recording." The hall was silent now. Even the angry Vorn delegate had nothing to say. "What happened to them?" asked a small voice. It came from a young delegate, barely old enough to attend the council. Taiho turned to face her. For just a moment, something that might have been sadness crossed his face. "They crossed our border. Our defense systems activated. They had exactly 30 seconds to turn around. They did not. And so they died." "This is murder!" someone shouted from the back. "No," said the old keeper of memory. His voice was like dry leaves blowing in wind. Everyone turned to look at him. He rarely spoke, and when he did, people listened. "This is not murder. This is consequence." The keeper slowly stood up. He was thin and bent with age, but his eyes were bright. "I remember," he said. "I remember what happened 2,000 years ago. 12 species decided that humans were too dangerous to let live. They sent their fleets to Earth. They planned to take everything the humans had. Their planet, their resources, their lives." The hall was completely silent now. "The war lasted 3 days," the keeper continued. "Not because the humans surrendered, but because there was nobody left to fight them. The humans did not just defend themselves. They followed the attackers home. They left messages in the broken pieces of dead fleets. The messages said, 'Leave us alone, and we will leave you alone. Attack us again, and we will end you.'" "That was 2,000 years ago," said the Vorn delegate, but his voice was weaker now. "Times have changed." "Have they?" Taiho asked. He looked around the room. Your scientists entered our space after being warned 17 times. They called us primitives. They refused our help. Tell me, how have times changed?" A young admiral from a distant system stood up. He was covered in medals. His uniform was bright with colors of honor. "Enough of this," he said. "I will take my fleet into human space. I will rescue any survivors. I will show the galaxy that humans are not gods. They can be beaten." Tai-Ho looked at him. The ambassador's face did not change. His eyes did not blink. He simply said, "Then I suggest you say goodbye to your families now." The young admiral's face turned pale. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. The Keeper of Memory sat back down in his chair. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself, words that only those closest to him could hear. They never learn. They never learn. Tai-Ho stepped down from the platform. As he walked toward the door, he stopped next to the young admiral. "We do not want war," he said quietly. "We have never wanted war, but if you bring war to us, we will finish it. That is not a threat. It is simply the truth." He walked out of the hall. The doors closed behind him, and in the silence that followed, the young admiral looked at the red zone on the map and for the first time in his life felt real fear. Deep under the ground of Earth, in a place that was once called Sol, there was a library. But this was not a normal library. This library held the history of every war humanity had ever fought, every battle, every death, every victory. It was called the Archive of Memory, and very few people were allowed inside. Baek Ji-woo walked through the long, dark halls. She was 28 years old and worked as a historian. The Galactic Council had asked her to write a report. They wanted to understand why humans were so feared. They wanted to know the truth. An old woman waited for her at the end of the hall. Her name was Moon Hana, and she was the keeper of this place. She was 67 years old, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. "So they finally want to know," Hana said. Her voice was tired. "After 2,000 years, they want to understand." "They are scared," Ji-woo replied. "A young admiral is gathering a fleet. He wants to enter human space." Hana closed her eyes for a moment. "Then he will die. They always die." She turned and walked deeper into the archive. "Come, I will show you what they need to see." The first room they entered was full of screens. Each screen showed a different recording. Ji-woo saw images of Earth from long ago, blue oceans, green forests, cities full of light and life. "This was Earth before the first contact war," Hana said. "Humans had just learned to travel between stars. They were excited. They thought they would find friends among the stars." She touched one of the screens, and the image changed. They found enemies instead. The new image showed alien ships, hundreds of them, thousands. They blocked out the sun. 12 species united to destroy us," Hana continued. "They did not see us as people. They saw us as animals. They wanted our planet. They wanted our resources. They wanted us gone." "What did humans do?" Ji-woo asked, even though she knew the answer. "First, we tried to talk. We sent messages of peace. We offered to share. We offered to leave. They laughed at us. They said we were too weak to fight and too stupid to surrender properly." Hana's eyes grew hard. "So we stopped trying to talk." She led Ji-woo to another room. This one was smaller and colder. On the wall hung a single piece of paper, old and yellow with age. On it was written, "They thought we would stop. We do not stop." "A soldier wrote that," Hana said. "On the second day of the war. By then we had already destroyed half their fleet. They could not believe it. They had the numbers. They had better technology. But they did not have what we had." "What was that?" "Everything to lose." Hana walked to another wall. Here there were names, thousands of names carved in stone. "These are the humans who died in the first contact war. Look at how few there are. Then she pointed to a small door. "Through there is the memorial for the aliens who died." Jiwoo walked through the door. She found herself in a room so large she could not see the walls. Names covered every surface, floor, ceiling, every wall, millions upon millions of names. "The war lasted 3 days," Hana said from behind her. "On the first day they attacked. On the second day we defended. On the third day we followed them home." Jiwoo felt cold. "All of these died in 3 days?" "Yes. And when it was over, we sent a message to every species in the galaxy. We said, 'We did not start this war. We tried to make peace. You refused. So we ended it. Leave us alone, and we will never hurt you. Attack us again, and this will happen to you too.'" At that moment, Jiwoo's communication device buzzed. It was a message from the border. The young admiral had gathered his fleet. He was about to cross into human space. Far away, at the edge of human space, Captain Park Junho sat in his small patrol ship. He was 31 years old, with tired eyes and steady hands. His job was to watch the border. Most days, nothing happened. Today was different. His screen showed the alien fleet, over 500 ships, gathering just outside the border. They were big and shiny and covered in weapons. Junho opened a channel. "Attention, alien vessels. You are approaching human space. Entry is forbidden. Please turn around." A voice came back, full of pride. "I am Admiral Corvin of the Galactic Fleet. I do not take orders from primitives. Stand aside or be destroyed." Junho sighed. He had heard this before. Different admirals, different species, always the same words. They never listened. "This is your final warning," Junho said calmly. "Our history books have empty pages. We would prefer they stay that way. But if you cross our border, we will fill those pages with your names." The alien admiral laughed. "You have 1 small ship? I have 500. You cannot stop us." Junho looked at his crew. They were young, most of them. They had never seen real war, but they were calm. They knew what was coming. "I have 1 ship," Junho agreed. "But I am not alone." He pressed a button. All across the border, warning beacons activated. Their red lights blinked in the darkness of space. And behind them, in the shadows between stars, other lights began to appear. Human ships, hundreds of them, then thousands. The alien admiral's voice came again, but now it was not so proud. Where did they come from?" "They were always here," Junho replied. "Waiting, hoping nobody would be foolish enough to make them fight." He paused. "You still have time to turn around. Please, I am asking you. Turn around." There was a long silence. Then, slowly, the alien fleet began to move forward, crossing the border into human space. Junho closed his eyes for a moment. "So be it," he whispered. Behind him, his crew began to hum an old Earth song. It was soft and sad and beautiful. It was the song humans sang before battle, the song they sang when there was no more hope for peace. Fleet Admiral Kang Soo-jin stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched the alien fleet enter human space. She was 52 years old, small and gray-haired, with a face full of lines from years of worry. Her crew called her the Silent Wall because she never lost her calm, no matter what happened. Around her, 5,000 human ships moved into position. They did not rush. They did not panic. They simply moved, like pieces on a game board, until the alien fleet was completely surrounded. "They crossed the line," said Admiral Shin Yuna, who stood beside her. Yuna was 48, tall and sharp-eyed. She was Soo-jin's tactical advisor, the one who planned their battles. "We could end this in 5 minutes." "Yes," Soo-jin said quietly. "We could." She looked at the alien ships on her screen. 500 vessels. Each one held hundreds of crew members, fathers, mothers, children waiting at home. She thought about the first contact war 2,000 years ago. She thought about all the names in the memorial hall. "Open a channel," she said. Her communication officer nodded. A moment later, Sujin's voice was being heard on every alien ship. "Attention, alien fleet! This is Fleet Admiral Kang Sujin of the Human Defense Force. You have entered our space without permission. According to our laws, your lives are now forfeit." She paused. "But we are tired of killing. We have been tired for 2,000 years. Stand down. Power off your weapons. And you may leave with your lives and a message for your people." There was silence. Then the alien admiral's voice came through. "I am Admiral Corvin. I do not surrender to lesser beings. Return our research ship's crew, and we will consider leaving." Sujin's face grew sad. "Your researchers are dead. They activated our defense systems when they refused to turn back. There was nothing we could do." "Lies!" Corvin shouted. "You murdered them!" "We warned them 17 times. We offered to help them. They refused. They called us primitives." Sujin's voice remained calm. "We do not murder, Admiral. We defend. There is a difference." Admiral Yuna leaned close to Sujin. "He won't stand down. His pride won't let him." "Then we show him what mercy looks like," Sujin replied. She turned to her communications officer. "Get me Captain Park Junho." Junho's face appeared on a small screen. He looked tired but ready. "Admiral, Captain, I need you to teach them a lesson. Not death. Understanding." She looked into his eyes. "Can you do that?" Junho nodded slowly. "I can." His small ship moved forward alone toward the alien fleet. 500 ships against one. Admiral Corvin laughed when he saw it. "One ship? You send one ship against me?" He gave an order. "Destroy it!" 12 alien ships fired at once. Their weapons lit up the darkness of space. But when the light faded, Junho's ship was gone. Not destroyed, just gone. "Where is it?" Corvin demanded. Before anyone could answer, lights began flickering on an alien cruiser. Then another, then a dozen more. Engines died. Weapons went offline. The ships drifted, helpless and dark. Junho's ship reappeared behind the alien fleet. He had passed through them like a ghost, touching 12 ships in seconds, disabling each one without firing a single killing shot. "Your ships are not destroyed," Junho's voice came through. "Your crews are alive. We could have killed them. We chose not to." He paused. "This is what mercy looks like, Admiral. Please accept it." Corvin stared at his screen. 12 of his best ships disabled in seconds by one small human vessel. He had not even seen it move. Then another voice came through. It was Dr. Cho Minho, the chief medical officer aboard Sujin's flagship. He was 55 years old, with kind eyes and gentle hands. "Attention, disabled vessels. This is Dr. Cho Minho. We are sending medical ships to help your injured. Please do not resist. We mean you no harm." Corvin could not believe what he was hearing. The humans had disabled his ships, and now they were offering to heal his wounded. This made no sense. Enemies do not heal each other. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sujin answered, "Because we are not monsters, Admiral. We are not what the stories say. We are people who want to live in peace. We built our weapons because the galaxy would not let us live without them. But we do not enjoy killing. We never have." She took a breath. "You came here looking for demons. You found gardeners with guns. We tend to our world. We raise our children. We create beautiful things. And yes, we fight when we must. But fighting is not what we are. It is simply what we have learned to do." Corvin was silent for a long time. He watched as human medical ships docked with his disabled vessels. He watched as human doctors treated alien wounds. He watched, and slowly, something inside him began to change. "I want to meet you," he said finally. "Face to face. I want to understand." Sujin nodded. Come to my ship. Come alone. You have my word you will not be harmed. An hour later, Corvin's shuttle docked with the human flagship. He walked through empty halls until he reached the bridge, and there he stopped. The great Fleet Admiral Kang Sujin was small, smaller than him, smaller than most of his crew. She had gray hair and a gentle smile and eyes that looked like they had cried many tears. You expected a monster, she said softly. Corvin could not speak. He had expected fangs and claws and cold, dead eyes. Instead, he found someone who looked like his own grandmother. That is your first lesson about humanity, Sujin continued. We are not what we seem. We do not look dangerous. We do not act dangerous. Until someone threatens what we love. Then we become something else entirely. She held out her hand. Please, Admiral. Let us talk. Let us find a better way than war. Corvin looked at her hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, he took it. Ambassador Yun Taiho made a decision that had not been made in over 1,000 years. He invited aliens to visit Earth. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Earth, the legendary homeworld, the place where the most feared species in the universe was born. No alien had seen it in 1,000 years. Now, a small group would be allowed to enter. Admiral Corvin was among the visitors. After his meeting with Fleet Admiral Kang Sujin, he had become curious. The humans were not what he had expected. He wanted to understand them better. He wanted to see their world. The delegation arrived on a sunny morning. Their shuttle landed in a field of green grass. Trees swayed in a soft wind. Birds sang in the branches. Corvin stepped out and looked around. His heart beat fast with fear. He expected to see weapons. He expected to see walls. He expected a fortress world, dark and cold and full of soldiers. Instead, he saw children running through the grass. He saw old people sitting on benches. He saw families having meals together under the trees. Welcome to Earth, said Taiho, who stood waiting for them. He was smiling. Welcome to our home. Where are your defenses? Corvin asked. Where are your weapons? Taiho looked at the children playing nearby. That is why we have defenses. That is why we have weapons. He turned back to Corvin. We did not build our military because we love war. We built it because we love this. Our children, our families, our peace. The galaxy taught us that peace must be protected, so we protect it. The delegation spent a week on Earth. They visited cities full of art and music. They walked through forests older than some civilizations. They ate food prepared by smiling cooks who asked them about their favorite flavors. Everywhere they went, they found the same thing: ordinary people living ordinary lives. One day, they met Elder Han Yunji. She was 203 years old, the oldest living human. Her body was small and bent, but her mind was sharp as a blade. I remember the time before, she told them. Her voice was soft like falling leaves. I remember when we first met the galaxy. We were so happy. We thought we would make friends. We thought we would share and learn and grow together. Her eyes grew distant. We were wrong. What happened? Asked a young alien delegate. They came to take everything from us. Our planet, our resources, our lives. Han touched her chest. We tried to make peace. We tried to surrender. We tried everything. They refused. They wanted us dead. All of us. Even the children. She paused to catch her breath. So we became what we are. Not because we wanted to. Because you left us no choice. Every weapon we built, every defense we created, every soldier we trained, they exist because we learned that the galaxy would not let us live in peace. Her voice grew stronger. So we made peace something no one could take from us. Corvin thought about her words. He looked around at the peaceful world around him. He saw a human woman teaching her child to walk. He saw an old man painting a picture of a sunset. He saw two young people holding hands and laughing. "These children," he said slowly, "they have never known war." "No," Taiho replied, "and that is the point. We fight so they do not have to. We carry the weight so they can be free." He looked at the sky. Every human soldier, every human weapon, every human ship, they all exist for one reason, so that somewhere a child can play without fear. Later that day, Commander Seo Do-hyun showed the delegation Earth's defense system. He was 41 years old with serious eyes and careful words. "This is our planetary shield," he said, pointing to a screen. "It can stop any weapon known to exist. Behind it are 10,000 orbital stations. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a small moon." He paused. "But in 1,000 years, we have only activated these defenses twice." "Why so rarely?" Corvin asked. "Because most threats turn back when they see our border warnings. The few who do not, well, they never reach Earth." Do-hyun looked at Corvin steadily. "We do not want to use these weapons. We pray we never have to. But if someone threatens our home, we will not hesitate." On the last day of their visit, historian Baek Ji-woo presented her report to the delegation. She had spent months gathering stories and records. Now she shared what she had learned. "Humanity offers the same thing we have always offered," she said, "to be left alone, to live in peace, to raise our children without fear." She looked around at the gathered aliens. "But we also offer something new. Friendship. To any who approach us with open hands instead of weapons." She held up her old leather journal. "I have written everything down, the truth about humans. We are not monsters. We are not gods. We are simply people who learned a hard lesson. The lesson is this: if you want peace, you must be strong enough to keep it." As the delegation prepared to leave, urgent news arrived. A species from the far edge of the galaxy was gathering a fleet. They had heard the old stories about humans. They did not believe them. They thought humans were weak. They were coming to conquer the primitive species that hid behind warnings. This fleet was larger than anything ever seen before. Millions of ships, billions of soldiers. They were coming to prove that humans could be beaten. Taiho received the news with a calm face. He looked at Corvin and the other delegates. "You are welcome to stay and watch," he said. "You can be the witnesses who tell the galaxy what happens next." Corvin thought about everything he had seen: the children playing, the old man painting, the woman teaching her child to walk. He thought about what the humans would do to protect these things. "We will stay," he said. "We will watch, and we will remember." Elder Han Yoonji smiled sadly. "Good," she whispered. "Someone should remember. Someone should tell the truth about what we are and what we do." She looked toward the sky where stars were beginning to appear. "And why no one should ever make us fight." The enemy fleet came like a storm. Millions of ships blocked out the stars. They came from the outer edge of the galaxy, from a place where the old stories about humans were just myths. They called themselves the Conquerors, and they had never lost a war. Their leader believed humans were weak. He believed the warnings were lies. He believed he would add Earth to his empire and become the greatest conqueror in history. He was wrong. Fleet Admiral Kang Soo-jin called every human to duty. Ships that had been sleeping for centuries woke up. Soldiers who had never seen battle put on their uniforms. For the first time in 1,000 years, the entire human defense force moved as one. And they woke up Supreme General Lee Won-jun. Won-jun had been asleep for 800 years. He was kept frozen in ice, waiting for a day when humanity faced a threat so great that they needed him. He was the last commander from the time when humans still remembered how to wage total war. When he opened his eyes and learned about the enemy fleet, he asked only one question: "How many?" Millions of ships, Sujin told him. They outnumber us 10,000 to 1. Wanjun nodded slowly. Acceptable odds. Before the battle began, Ambassador Yun Teho made one last attempt at peace. He broadcast a message to the enemy fleet. He spoke of Earth's beauty. He spoke of the children who deserve to grow up without fear. He spoke of hope. The enemy responded by destroying his communication ship. Taiho survived. He was rescued by Captain Park Junho, who pulled him from the wreckage. As they flew back to the human fleet, Taiho looked at Junho with tired eyes. "I tried," he said. "I know," Junho replied. "You always try. That is what makes us human." Taiho turned to General Lee, who stood watching the enemy fleet on a large screen. "They will not listen." "No," Lee agreed. "They never do." He looked at Taiho. "You did your part. Now let me do mine." He turned to the fleet. "All ships, weapons free. Teach them." What happened next was not a battle. It was a lesson. The enemy had numbers. They had size. They had weapons that could burn planets. But they had never faced humans. They had never seen what humanity could do when everything they loved was threatened. Human ships moved like dancers. They flowed around enemy attacks and struck at weak points. They worked together without needing orders, each captain knowing exactly where to go and what to do. Centuries of peace had not made them slow. Centuries of peace had made them precise. Lieutenant Kim Sarah sat at her station on the flagship, watching the battle through tears. She was 24 years old. She had never known war. She had grown up playing in green fields and swimming in clean rivers. Now she watched her people fight to protect those things. "We fight," she whispered, "so our children won't have to." Captain Junho led his squadron deep into the enemy fleet. His ship was hit. His crew was wounded, but he kept going. At one point, he broadcast a message to his family back on Earth. "Tell them I did my duty. Tell them Earth is safe." Against all odds, he survived. Admiral Shin Yuna arrived just in time to pull him out of danger. "You are not allowed to die," she told him. "Earth needs her heroes alive." The battle lasted 6 hours. By the end, the great enemy fleet was broken. Ships drifted without power. Survivors called for help. The conquerors, who had never lost a war, had just learned why. General Lee stood on the bridge and watched the destruction. There was no joy in his eyes, only exhaustion. "War is humanity's oldest companion," he said quietly. "We do not love it, but we have learned to speak its language better than anyone." Fleet Admiral Su Jin gave the final order of the battle. "All medical ships assist the survivors. All combat ships, stand down." She looked at the broken fleet on her screen. "We have won. Now let us show them why victory is not what we wanted." The surviving enemy were not killed. They were not captured. They were given food, medicine, and a message to take home. Humanity wants peace, but if you bring war, we will end it. This is not a threat. It is a promise. Admiral Corvin and the other alien witnesses recorded everything. They had seen Earth's beauty. They had seen humanity's mercy. And now they had seen what happened when that mercy ran out. The recordings spread across the galaxy. Every species watched. Every species learned. And finally, every species understood why no one dares enter human space. Historian Baek Ji-woo finished her report. The final chapter was titled, "Why No One Dares Enter." But the true answer was not about weapons. It was not about tactics. It was about a simple truth. Humans fight not because they want to, but because they have something worth protecting. At the border of human space, new messages were added to the old warning beacons. Elder Han Unji, in her last days of life, wrote the words herself, "To those who come with open hands, welcome. To those who come with weapons, we forgive you for what we are about to do." 100 years later, a young alien child asked her grandmother why no one enters human space. The grandmother smiled and showed her an old recording of Earth. Children playing, families laughing, people creating art and music and love. "Humans are not monsters," she said. "They are gardeners. They tend to their world, raise their children, and create beautiful things." She paused. "But gardeners also protect their gardens. And humans are very, very good at protecting what they love." The child watched the recording. At the end, she saw Fleet Admiral Kang Soo-jin, old and gray, sitting in her garden surrounded by flowers. She was smiling. "The humans taught us something," the grandmother said. "The most dangerous creature in the universe is not the one that seeks destruction. It is the one that has something precious to protect." The child looked at her grandmother. "Is that why no one enters their space?" "Yes," the grandmother replied, "because the humans only want peace, and they will do anything to keep it."